Please.
They want you until 6 days. It was like, you can do it once a call from Tony Hendricks. I got the money, but you better go to one.
Exactly.
It's 6:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like us to stand as able and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to welcome everybody to the meeting and thank you for attending. Our first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the board meeting dated November 5th, 2025. Anyone have any? Well, I entertain a motion for approving the minutes.
So moved.
Tim is the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ariane is the second. Any comments, changes, alterations?
My only comment is I'm amazed at what a fabulous job Sue did with our minutes. No corrections.
Excellent. Anybody else have any comments? All right, all in favor of the approving the minutes from November 5th, 2025 as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent, thank you. Next is citizens' comments. If anyone would like to comment on anything that is not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to do that. If you would like to be recognized, I appreciate if you state your name and then speak and address the board chair. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. See, for the record,
And your
Mr.
name, sir?
Kirk McGinnis.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And what I'd like to do for the record is submit a written statement and read it aloud.
Concerning?
It's concerning documented conduct by town officials and my interactions with the town office.
Okay.
So that's just the written statement. I'll be brief.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, good evening. My name is Kirk McGinnis, a budding landowner at 1039 Wyman Falls Road. I'm requesting that this entire statement be entered into the minutes verbatim. On November 14th, Friday, I filed a formal 101-page petition with the Windsor Superior Court requesting discontinuance of the Class 4 road segment that runs directly through my driveway and yard. The Superior Court accepted the filing, stamped it, and assigned it case number 25CV05032. On Monday, November 17th, I delivered a second hard copy to the Chester Town Manager. That service was audio recorded and documented, and a certificate of service has been mailed to the Superior Court. Because this matter is now before the Windsor Superior Court, I respectfully ask the Select Board to pause all Class 4 road activity on the Wyman Falls segment going through my driveway and yard until the Superior Court issues a ruling. This includes any construction, policy votes, or alterations that affect the specific corridor. I also need to place several concerns on the public record. One, town-related building materials, including lumber staged for 2 proposed bridges, have been placed along the Class 4 segment on my private property. These materials appear to be in preparation for expanded public access through my yard, even though a judicial petition is pending. 2, Select Board Assistant Chair and Chester Conservation Committee Leader, Arunas Janinas, has visited my property unannounced on multiple occasions, has allowed his dogs to run freely through my private property, and has repeatedly stated to me, once a Class 4 road, always a Class 4 road. His dual role, combined with direct involvement in the corridor, raises legitimate questions about conflict of interest and impartiality in any town decisions affecting my property. For the sake of safety, liability, and public transparency, I'm requesting that the town remove the staged building material from my property at once until the Superior Court has ruled on the discontinuation and the discontinuance petition. These issues are being documented tonight to ensure an accurate public record and to prevent any unintentional interference with an active judicial matter. I appreciate the board entering this statement into the select board meeting minutes verbatim, not summarized, for transparency and for the benefit of any future reviewer. Because this matter is active before the Superior Court, I'm not asking the board to deliberate tonight about my segment, only to enter this statement verbatim into the public record. Anyway, I'm trying to stay positive and keep the peace. So at this point, I've made my statement, and unless you have anything for me, I'll be on my way.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments.
You're welcome.
Anyone else like to address the board at this point on anything that is not part of the agenda? Okay, next is old business. Julie, you want to bring us through that?
I can, there's not a whole lot. Policies, there's 5 policies that we'll be starting to work on over the next few months, over the winter months, once the budget wraps up. There's some modifications to make to the traffic ordinance that should be relatively easy. We will be starting the work on the use of town property ordinance that we've talked about. We will be doing a an ordinance, on public records request, having a policy around them. That this board had talked about re-looking at the Chester Development Funds for multiple potential uses, Cypress Minerals money coming into that. And then we are long overdue on updating the financial policy. So those will be the 5 that we'll be working on. A couple of them will be easy. A couple of them will have definitely way more involvement. I also talked to Jim Carroll today, Bailey Hill Road. He has promised me that that is next on his list. He will be working on that. I should have something hopefully by the end of this week, beginning of next week. And I have emailed Mr. Bitgood and let him know. That's all I have for business, just budget.
Any questions?
Yeah, well, we had on you've got the future agenda. We were talking about a development committee. Where is that?
Economic Development Committee.
Yes.
So we've advertised
Yep.
for letters of interest.
Yep.
They have until the end of the month to issue those.
Yep.
You guys will be doing interviews and making appointments at your December 19th, 17th, 19th, that second meeting in December.
Meeting December. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else?
And then, in that same vein, moderator position, you'll be doing interviews and hopefully appointing town moderator at your December 3rd meeting. I have all letters of interest on that.
Excellent.
How many people,
2.
Two.
3 initially, 1 withdrew. So you have 2.
Excellent. Next on the agenda is to review discontinuance / reclassification of roads process. So you should have some documentation about the discontinuance process. And it's a lengthy document, 11 pages, summarized at the top. And then there seems to be the VSA references that were used for that particular summary. So does anybody have any thoughts on this whole process and how to proceed with this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I know we requested to put this on the agenda for clarity so that we would all be at least better versed on what this process is for discontinuing highways, because we spent a lot of time discussing it. But it's also encapsulated in the Class 4 road policy conversation, correct? So this is.
This
it's
level of detail
information-
as to how is not, that's why this is on here. They're 2 different.
Yeah, so there's the process of the discontinuance, and then there's the actual
the
policy
policy right
that
of this.
actually informs us as a town how we're gonna do this, not necessarily it's the process of doing that, not necessarily the background. So I would see this as the background for that policy.
Yeah.
So the thing that's not clearly stated in this is when you're working with adjoining towns. And we have a lot of class 4 roads that actually meet adjoining towns. And it means that the town on the other adjoining town also has to have a notice, also has to have the adjoining town has to have a public meeting, and it has to have the public notice.
I thought that was in here, Peter, sorry to
It's in the
interrupt.
statutes. I gave you the statutes around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
thought
do
there was
talk about that.
a statement about, but yeah, go ahead, because that is an important point.
Right. Right, so if we pick, for instance, I'll call that a specific road, is that we have a class 4 road that goes by a chalet that's on Route 11, goes to Andover and stops. There is no road on the other side of Andover. But you would still have to notify Andover that you would discontinue that road.
So Peter, it's section 771.
77.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
there
Yep.
it is here, just so you know.
It seems like, all the information that we have here, the extended, notes and the information breaks it, it gives us the exact process of how everything happened. I thought our policy was more a guidance document so that people knew basically how the steps work. And I was hoping that we would at least try to tackle that and finish it up before we went on to anything else. It's just putting another thing on our plate. The fact that we adopt the policy is not going to affect any considerations for any of the town or class 4 roads that are out there, and whether we discontinue them or not, or whether we review it to see what's happening also. I just think that having that policy in place might be helpful, as opposed to postponing it till later, where after we get into it, because there was a mention of maybe looking at some of the class 4 roads, and if there are any that were obvious to discontinue, that might be a discussion. But when I look at the maps and I look at all the roads and where they all are, they're all separate and specific with separate circumstances that surround it. And before I ever would consider making a decision about something like that, I would want to know more about the road, site visits, the history, and everything that goes with it before I even consider to reclassify it or change it and stuff. And that would be for the benefit of the people that are on those roads too, and for the town. It's just a lot when you look at it and where they're placed and where they go, and they all have their own stories to them and stuff too. So it would be really important for us to do our due diligence, would be a site visit, would be history, would be input from the neighbors and everybody else. When we were first started all this, and I kind of realized that it was going to kick the hornet's nest for sure, the purpose was to make sure that people were aware of what we were doing as a town and what was happening. It wasn't trying to slide anything by or do something about some accusations that have been made about this board, about staging and lumber and things or whatever. It was for transparency. So the process is known, that the people know what's going on, and so we could attack these different, or just discuss these different roads individually as they come up and where it's needed to, where people might want to talk about them and discuss them and stuff. We're 95% of the way to a policy, and we're missing a little bit of that. We decided that maybe we should tweak or change a little when it came up to maintenance of driveways and a few other things like that. Short of that, I would recommend that we proceed with that and finish that policy, and then decide where we're going to go from there. We are limited right now because of the court case for specifics on certain areas, but not on the rest of the town and stuff. I mean, if the town wanted to run out tomorrow and fix a class 4 road, I'm sure they're allowed to do it because it's in their jurisdiction, and they're allowed to go out and fix their roads and do what they have to do to maintain them to the satisfaction of the people of the town, or the road itself, what it might need. So, kind of where I sit.
Tim?
Something I'm still not clear
We're still
about.
on the agenda item where Julie provided us with some background.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. So we're still talking about the discontinuous
information she provided
reclassification
us.
of roads
Kind of,
process.
yeah, they kind of go
Kind
together.
of
Yeah, they
melts
do.
together. So,
Yeah, so the next agenda item is the class 4 road policy discussion, so I'm just listening to what you guys have to say.
so I read all of this, and one thing that, it must be in a different statute, because I've heard mentioned by a few different people that you can't restrict vehicular traffic on class 4 roads. My understanding is part of one of the goals of the policy is for the town to be able to, with a stated voted policy, to then control what happens or isn't allowed to happen on some class 4 roads. I didn't see anything about vehicular traffic and because this is,
This is all about,
This
what
is
I
all
gave you is
about
all about discontinuous
discontinuance.
reclassification.
are you familiar with that though? Because I've heard it stated a couple different times that you can't, as things stand, you cannot restrict vehicular traffic on a class 4 road legally by statute.
I don't think that you can. When it's reclassified to a trail, you can, or my understanding is by ordinance, you can.
But only by ordinance, not by.
That's my understanding. Now, I can certainly get a legal opinion from Jim and review the statute specifically. I have not.
And an ordinance, which is a different vehicle than a policy.
Correct. So let me just, why don't I do some
For
research
me,
on that
that's a
and
key
make sure we
question,
know.
because, to me, one of the things that appeals about this policy is that my understanding is it would give us more latitude to have say over what does or does not, is or is not allowed on class 4 roads, which I would think, landowners would appreciate. So I think that's a key question.
Ariana, you had
I'm
a,
confused. I thought we stated that this policy doesn't, all this policy does is aggregates all the information that's out there in various policies and books and puts them all in one place, but doesn't change anything. If it actually doesn't change anything, and if we can't currently restrict anything, then if this policy genuinely doesn't change anything, then we still can't.
Well, that's the
So we
question.
should get
Can't-
that clarity one way or the
all
other,
of that.
because if we couldn't before, and this policy would then allow us to make restrictions, then this is new.
So maybe it comes under penting roads, right? We have the authority to pent a road,
Mhm,
and that would restrict vehicular traffic.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Okay, so maybe that's where it falls.
Well,
But let me confirm. Let me just talk to Jim and confirm. Make sure
the
we're on
thing
good
is,
footing.
this policy has been vetted by the town attorney, and there is a section in here that says the control, where it talks about, with this policy, we're allowed to establish weight limits, to prohibit or restrict the use of motor vehicles, and position requirements for temporary permits, and all these other things. So that's in there, and it seems like it's granted. Now, it'd still be, you're right, we should verify it to
Right,
make
because-
sure, because supposedly this was vetted, and he did read it, and
No,
somebody.
this has not been vetted by Jim Carroll. This was written by VLCT. There are a team of attorneys,
Okay.
okay, but Jim Carroll, the town's attorney, has not reviewed this policy.
But the VLCT
VLCT
has,
drafted it.
okay,
It
so
is
they,
a model policy
Okay.
that the CCC used to
Okay.
draft this, right?
so there is some background to it, it's just didn't come out of
Correct.
thin air. And I
Often,
would hope it with the VLCT, and I'm not saying we're just gonna go with them.
no,
But there are guidance, authority usually, and I would hope with something like that, that they wouldn't be mistaken on it, so
Yeah.
I'm, hoping.
typically, historically, if we start with a VLCT model policy, the boards of past have not felt it necessary to then pay Jim Carroll to do the same review. You had told me that CCC used VLCT's
Oh,
model
yeah.
policy when
Oh,
you
yeah.
drafted, so I mean, we can certainly give it to Jim to review.
I
But
think it
no,
would
that
be
has not
important.
been vetted by our attorney.
can we reach out to VLCT and ask them for clarification on that particular?
Sure.
Because that's free, right?
Sure, yeah.
Not that I want to pay Jim, but on the other hand,
Well, if we don't
if
need
we
to,
get an
then-
answer.
With
from the
this
people-
issue, I would think
Yeah.
we gotta make
Yeah.
sure we're.
If the people who wrote it can tell us where they got that language, that'd be great.
Guys, respectfully, if we have drifted into the policy, Mr. Hudkins is
Right.
is recused. That's why I'm being specific about,
Yeah,
are we
right.
moving into the next
Yeah.
agenda item yet or not?
No, we're not, and
Okay.
I apologize for that little bit of a drift, but I just wanted to make sure that we were all reading this discontinuance or reclassification of roads process to make sure that we are all understanding the history, the background of how we would go about doing this in as it relates to the policy, but let's not get into the policy per se.
And I feel like a broken record, but everything that we've been provided, I've read through, it says similar and same things repeatedly. None of this is countered by the policy we're contemplating, correct?
No,
Everything
no.
we provided remains the process regardless of the document Arnie has.
Right. And as I was reading through this, I kept referring back in my mind to the policy saying, oh yeah, this is where this came from. This is where this came from.
But there was a lot of questions and a lot of
Yeah.
feelings in the room that discontinuance is very quick and easy. So the purpose of this is if you're going to have requests for discontinuance or reclassifications, I want the board to understand this is a very
Lengthy process.
lengthy process. It's a legal process that has a lot of steps.
Well,
So that you're aware of it now and that information is out to the public.
Mariana?
I think the piece that is important to me, and people have probably heard me say it over and over, with the discontinuance process as it's laid out, we don't have much latitude. It's not like we can say, oh, you know what, next week, let's look at discontinuing Julie Jones's road. It not only is it laid out and we don't have latitude, we must do it by the steps. It also takes a serious amount of time.
As it
So
should.
If somebody is contemplating wanting to petition for class 4 roads, it's in here, there are steps. It's not about whether we're in a good mood or not.
Correct.
It's a
Correct.
process and you
Yeah.
just follow the process.
And that's the purpose of this.
I mean, there's a rigid time frame that goes on
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
but it only starts where it says the select board shall promptly appoint. So there you got the word promptly, which is, you know.
But
well,
that's in response to a
No.
petition which fulfills the
with
needs.
the signatures, or if the select board decides to do it themselves.
Right.
Right.
But then it's 30 days and 60 days,
Yeah.
and there's a whole bunch of other things, but that triggers it. That, I guess, once you start that first meeting promptly, or as promptly as you can, I can imagine in the middle of the winter time, you're not gonna be doing many site visits and things. There's gonna be a lot of things that could influence how quick everything's gonna go, but it's a long process, because I remember Quarry Road, when that was done, it took 3 months, 4 months, and that was during when the weather was right, to get the notices out to all the landowners, the abutters. If it goes to another town, they have a say in it, and if it gets to the point where it's you have to notify the Department of Forest Parks and Recreation also, because they have a say in it of what happens to a road, and whether it goes to discontinuance or to a trail or whatever, and usually their influence or their input from it is, a lot of it's related to state road, state forests and things like that. But there is also some other parts that they look at also, that with some other criteria.
Right.
And when I've asked that question of the state, they brought that up about the state forest and access. But they weren't sure about the other qualifications or other things that they might be, you know, that they could voice an opinion about, but they're doing some research on their end to see if there's examples of other things that might have happened. So.
Peter, did you have anything you wanted to?
Yeah, there is 2016, when each town got to declare their ancient roads. None of that was coordinated between towns. Which makes you, if you look at the list that I gave you, that I did a couple of years ago, you'll find that there are class 3 roads that meet trails, and there are class 4 roads that meet class 3 roads. And that whole public hearing process was not done. Because you were gonna call out your roads and they didn't take it any farther than that. So there was a lot of disconnects. Now, when you look at the Chester map, it's fine to look at the Chester map, but you have to look what it connects with on the other side. You have to look, and that, if you go through, I made a list, and if you look at it, it calls out if there are parcels that are different parcels, if the class 4 road, if it connects to another town, what the road is in the other town. So you get it pretty much, I went through all of them and hunted it down. And there's a lot of information right there. Now, there are really there's three kinds of recusals, and I always choose the recusal to leave the room. But in reviewing, there's another one where Julie doesn't even tell you when the meeting is. So once you accuse yourself, she just won't even let you know. So I respect everybody's opinion in here. If you were gonna talk about a specific case, I'm gonna leave for the class 4 policy. If you have a specific case that you want to bring up, please have the courtesy to wait till I get back into the room. Thank you.
Mr. Westeen, did you have something that you wanted to talk to on this particular?
Yeah, I
issue?
wanted to ask, you talk about vehicle being limited here and there. Is it wheeled vehicles? Is there any definition? Or is it?
I don't know, Mike. I've got to look that up.
Yeah.
I'll get my
There's a
head
lot of
around
places you
what
see
that's.
In other towns, and maybe in ours too, I don't know, but a lot of times it says wheeled vehicles.
This one says motorized vehicles.
Motorized.
Right. But that's still a pretty
Snowmobiles
big
too.
net throw out there.
Right.
Most of the opposition is in the door on. So.
Right.
Yeah, don't come flying over my farm there.
Thank you.
I will,
Thank you.
I'll dig into all that.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy.
Anyone else want to address the board on this particular topic before we move on to the class 4 roads policy discussion?
I'm just wondering if the documents you mentioned are all available easily, perhaps on the website. One, the 111-page document, but also the document you referred to.
Excuse me, can you say your name, please?
Sure.
I guess I'm sorry, Sue.
Yeah, it's Damon Tyler.
So the 111-page complaint, I need to, that is not public. That's a lawsuit against the town, so that documentation would not be public yet. I'm sure Mr. McGinnis would share it with you if you wanted to get it that way. The discontinuance stuff, I'm happy to dip a copy for you.
Okay, cool. And then the documentation you mentioned, that hard research you did about all the towns and how they.
It's, I don't know, we,
Peter's list.
you can get the meeting,
Yeah.
you can get it's right with the minutes, the packet.
Okay, cool.
It's
Yeah,
with the
it's-
packet,
it's
so
in
you
the
can get it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can make one.
Yes, sir.
Gary King from Chester. I just wanted to say, I've been in Chester for 20 years, and I've been instrumental in building out some of our hiking trails at the Green Mountain Union High School, the Lost Mine Trail, and more recently the Brookside Trail. And all the feedback I've gotten from individuals who've used those trails has been incredible. They're incredible assets for the town. And so I just want to say I fully support the board's position on this to really take a look at these town assets, this public land, because it benefits everybody. And I think that, you know, when we look at a trail that abuts private property, there's got to be ways to make this work. When I have company come to town, I take them out to the trails. 5 minutes from my house, I live right up the street here, and it's just an incredible resource to get out in the woods, to take little kids out in the woods, and to have access to these properties and these trails with respect to the landowners and you know, nature, leave no trace. We practice all these things. It's just super important. So I just want to again say that I support the way you're going about this carefully and trying to establish this policy that we can look at each tract of land as a potential recreational asset for the town and for the taxpayers in the town that would use them.
Thank you. All right, Peter, we'll let you know.
That's all right.
Thank you.
We're trying to forget you, Peter.
Here's my office if you want form.
All warm and
All right, next is the class 4 roads policy discussion.
I think I already kind of gave my spiel on the last agenda item, which is kind
Indeed, you
of,
did.
I'm sorry.
Anyone else want to?
I got the
chime in?
order a little messed up because they're right next to each other.
Well, they're so
They're-
well
they're
tied
linked.
together, yeah.
You know, I got a couple things actually. Let me find my notes here.
Was this included in the packet? Because I can't find.
No,
my
we
copy.
didn't get another copy of the policy.
Yeah, do you guys need another copy?
I'm gonna dig mine up.
I've got mine.
I'll dig mine up too.
And share it with you if you'd like. So, coming out of our last meeting, there were, you know, several of us stated that this policy didn't change anything, and then we got into it and heard citizens' comments. All of a sudden, a light bulb came on for me that actually what we are potentially changing is requiring somebody to get a permit to repair their driveway. Right, that was something that I missed, and I appreciate the landowners pointing that out. So I think that's something that has to be addressed in this policy, and my thoughts, just for discussion, were that some options we'd have, we could exempt any and all sections that are currently being used as driveways from the permitting process, but not for altering the road. So if you were gonna change it or, make a major change, but just for maintenance and repair, it seems like a pretty easy thing to do, to identify which roads are already being used as driveways and exempt those. That was one of my thoughts. Also, for the permits for altering or maintaining a road that's not a driveway, I would advocate for keeping no fee or very low fee for applying for that permit and streamlining the process. We don't need to define that stuff now, but I know a lot of things can be done with roads with a call, or like a burn permit. You make a call to Jeff Holden and he says, yes, you're good or not. Maybe we could do something similar with a repair or maintenance aspect, or I don't know. And as I said, we don't have to define that right now. These are just my thoughts that I put down. They could be approved by the public works director and or the town manager. That was my thought. To me, that was the biggest light bulb moment for me out of this, that we can't make people jump through hoops to repair their driveways.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. Yeah, I want to stir up a hornet's nest, as Arnie said, but who actually owns the road?
The town owns the
The
road.
town owns the road. So theoretically, if somebody's using it for a driveway, that's a permitted use. I mean, not permitted, but it's an allowed use of that. And we're not trying to take away that particular aspect of the use of that road or make it restrictive so people can't get to their houses or,
Right.
Can't do the repairs or whatever. The thing that I want to make sure that we're thinking about is making sure or separating or distinguishing between a road, class 4 road that dead ends in somebody's driveway or dooryard versus a class 4 road that goes somewhere else. And Peter made that point. If it goes to another town, then, we certainly we need to follow procedure for that. But as an example, I live on Popple Dungeon, and Dodge Road goes from town here over, and part of it is a class 4 road that is not maintained by the town. It's difficult to get through. Nobody lives out there, so it's not like it's somebody's driveway. So that would be a different circumstance for me than somebody's class 4 or class 4 ends up in somebody's dooryard and that's it. So, to your point, trying to make sure that we distinguish between those two uses is something I think is important. And I'm not sure how to deal with that in the policy, other than making sure that we include some point of discussion about, as we look at class 4 roads and how we're going to deal with them, if we're going to discontinue whatever, that we're taking it on a case by case basis to make sure that we're not making this a blanket policy.
I don't think we have any choice but to do that.
No, exactly. But I think the concern that I've heard from reading or hearing different people's comments is the town is just going to make this blanket policy that applies to everything, and everything's going to be either kept or thrown up or do whatever. And that's not the intent of this particular policy. The policy is, as was stated earlier, is to give the community an awareness of the way that we are handling class 4 roads, and not necessarily looking at it from one perspective or another. We're going to keep them all, and too bad for you if you happen to live on one, or we're going to throw them all up and then you're, nobody can use them or whatever. So I think part of what we've heard is that the class 4 roads are a valuable asset for the town. And so how do we use them appropriately and maintain or, keep them so that we as the town can enjoy town property, but also not come into instances where we're annoying people or causing difficulties because, these roads are being used inappropriately.
I
Sorry,
agree
a
with
little
all
bit of a
that,
ramble.
except that we can never not annoy people, because people are gonna get annoyed.
Yes, I understand that, but we don't need to annoy them on purpose.
No. Agreed.
Ariana,
I've been giving class 4 roads a great deal of thought, in the last year, but specifically in the last 2 weeks, since the last time we were all here. You've all heard me ask the same question over and over. Isn't all of this already covered in what we have elsewhere and how the statutes work and all that? I believe that the class 4 highway policy is a tool that will allow us to consider the wide variety of issues that folks have brought in front of us in the last 6 months to 2 years. We currently have 2 issues that have hit the legal realm that are regarding class 4 roads, but are completely different from each other. And then we have the question of how it gets used in motor vehicles. And then we have specific roads. And then we have the idea that we'd like some trails and eco. So there's conversations about class 4 roads that require very different consideration. Each of these discussions touches on the idea of a class 4 road, but with a different group of stakeholders for a different purpose with different impacts. If we as a select board are to assist the municipality in moving ahead in the world, in how we work with class 4 roads, in all these different ways, this policy is just a small set of guardrails for us to start looking at all these different issues. We have to look at these issues because y'all have brought them to us. So we have to consider this stuff, and we're interested in a lot of it. If we move forward without a policy in place and try and address all these disparate ways to look at class 4 roads, every single conversation will have to require us to look at all the different statutes from different places, gather all of that, figure out, okay, what are we attending to this time when we ask this question? So I am inclined to move forward with the policy because I think we're going to need a reference in one place of all the different ways class 4 roads are dealt with. Because we're not looking at an easy year. Every single time we want to talk about class 4 roads, there are people who are passionate about recreation and joy and bringing in tourists, and people who are trying to protect their homestead. Those two things are so far apart, and yet it's still the 5 of us, and it's still the topic of class 4 roads. So that was the long way of me saying, I know there's issues. We don't agree as a community about how each of those issues should be resolved, but we're going to have to look at them. And if we're going to look at them, I would appeal to everybody to move forward with the policy. So we've at least got something to start with, a foundation to look at all the issues from.
so just looking at the policy again, we have basically 3 different sections. There's the maintenance by the town, maintenance and right-of-way access of class 4 highways, and then control. Those are the things that I think are going to impact the town and those people who are users of class 4 roads. And then in addition to that, there's the whole changing classification and highway closure. But basically, the things that are going to impact us as the town and therefore the taxpayer are the things that either we're required as a town to maintain or having some say in what happens to the class 4 roads by people who either abut them or are living at the end of one. And what if any, control we have over how these class 4 roads are used. So if we start with the first one, that is maintenance by the town, this basically lays out that we're not gonna provide any summer maintenance, we're not gonna do any winter maintenance, and so it kind of limits our obligation as far as spending money on a class 4 road. And then we also have, some jurisdiction over how these roads are used in the wintertime, specifically related to plowing. So anybody on the board have any comments or thoughts about that particular aspect of the policy?
You're talking about paragraph 3.
Paragraph 3, maintenance by the town.
Well, even that leaves the door open because it says, to the extent required by the necessity and the public good and conveyance of its inhabitants. Sometimes that's a big issue because the road is actually used. Other times it's not an issue at all because it's not really used for motor vehicles, for traffic. But there is, like, I think it's Bailey's Mill, there's a section that's class 4. And the town actually does throw a little gravel on it now and then because it cuts off a whole section from Lover's Lane to 103. And it's actually, people still use it in the morning. I see the traffic going through there and things. So it becomes each one's an individual situation that has to be looked at through different eyes, depending on what's going on. The part that I think is important is, and it goes back to that control part. Can you put restrictions on it? What control do you have on it besides the classification? If it's just the classification, then it's by state statute what's allowed and what's not allowed. But once you add on any of these other items that we talked about that are mentioned in here about motorized vehicles and restrictions and pent roads, well, pent roads is in the statute. But once you do those other things, and if they are allowed, which we will find out from the town attorney just to make sure, that's going to be a big deciding factor on when we look at all these different options and areas to have a toolbox that we could address it in different ways. So it's not all lumped together.
Right.
Oh, it has to have cars because it's a class 4 road. Well, maybe it doesn't, or maybe this, maybe that. But it seems like with those controls in place, it gives us the town a few more options.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying. I don't mean to change the subject, but I wanted to just talk about the maintenance aspect. We'll get to the control part because, you know, it all ties together, obviously. But what we're saying here in section 3, maintenance by the town, is that we're not obligated or obligating ourselves to do anything with class 4 roads. We have the option of doing something if we need to, for the public good and convenience of the inhabitants. We can do some things on class 4 roads, but we're not obligated to do it. As an example, so when I was a kid, my folks had a camp on Dodge Road on the Popple Dungeon end. And there's a guy that lived at the very end of that road before it turns into like a trail almost, who decided that he wanted to get his money for his taxes, and he made the town improve the entirety of Dodge Road from the cul-de-sac there all the way to Popple Dungeon. And so what this is saying is that we wouldn't necessarily be obligated to do. I don't know how he did it, what made him or the town agree to do that, but it's a way different road now than it was 30, 40 years ago. It was basically a 2-track at that point. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're limiting our obligation, but not eliminating our obligation or the ability to do work to maintain these class 4 roads as specified in section 3.
So, go ahead, Ariane.
Broken record down here. None of this is changed from the existing
Right,
statute or situation.
right.
Well, so if we're going to talk about moving this forward, then we're going to have to get into some really specific language discussions, I think.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing.
Okay,
That's what
so
I'm
here
trying
we
to
are in
foment.
paragraph 3, section 3B. It says plowing by private parties shall only be allowed with an advance permit agreed to by the Director of Public Works in conjunction with the town manager with appeal to the select board pursuant to section 4 of this policy. Any winter plowing of a class 4 highway granted by the select board to parties other than the municipality shall not nullify snowmobiling privileges. So if someone's, I won't say mine, well, I will, I try to put myself in others' place, which I always try to do. If my driveway is a class 4 road, do I now have to come to the town to get a permit to plow it? Or are we going to exempt that as well?
Well, that's a good point. And so,
So I would,
in reading this, yes, that would
we
be,
need to
we would need to
read,
modify that.
yes.
And I'm wondering, I mean, this says nothing about what that agreement is.
Advance permit agreed to by the Director of Public Works.
And is that each year? Is that in perpetuity?
Right. So we have to get into the weeds at this point if we're gonna move this thing forward. I hope to move this thing forward.
Right.
So I'm just gonna start highlighting some things that I think need attention, and that's one of them.
Yep.
You know, one of the other items that we're talking about on the maintenance of a class 4 road. And I'm not positive, but I had thought that there was some state regulations that came out about class 4 roads that they were gonna start enforcing, and it involved drainage and culverts so that the class 4 roads did not wash out and cause problems and stuff. And I thought there was some possible requirements to maintain those class 4 roads so that they didn't wash out into a stream or some kind of
Clean
issues
Water
like
Act
that
requires that erosion has to be
with
maintained.
class 4 roads. And the way around it was, the thought was back then that, well, that class 4 road, if it's gonna be such an issue regarding erosion and the Clean Waters Act, that if you did put it up to a trail, all that responsibility would go away. You don't have to do anything. But if a person still was, the class 4 road was still their access to their property,
You can't do that.
well, they could do that. They could still maintain it if they want. Just like
As
they
a
were
trail?
doing before.
I mean, then we get into the juxtaposition of state direction.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw things at Lee over here. But, you know, for them to say we have to manage erosion on a class 4 road, but the way out of it is to redesignate it, makes no sense at all to me.
That's
Right?
part of it.
Reclassification to a trail, it eliminates the need, it also eliminates any type of motorized vehicle. So if you that's a really important distinction.
This
in the
also
trail.
reminds me of another legal question I have. What's the process if a class 4 road were reclassified as a trail? What is the process if at a future date we wanted to reclassify it as a class 4 or a class 3 road? But we'd still
You're
have the
gonna have to
ability
you're
do
gonna
that.
have to lay out a road. You're gonna have to go
So
through a
that's
road
something to
layout
be
process.
considered as well.
That would
On
be
the trail
far
side.
more difficult to do because then, that would be far more difficult.
So you still retain the right of way. You still retain that 3-rod road width, even though it's a trail.
You are,
But that's still,
but you're gonna have to do a road layout, which means you're gonna have to survey. You're
well,
gonna
that's
have
true
to.
of any place you put in a
Would
new
you have to
road.
do that if you went from a trail back to a class 4?
Yes,
Yeah.
You would have to lay it out
yes.
then
You have
as
to do an
well.
actual road layout, yeah.
So that's a really important.
It's an important, but correct.
Yeah.
The only thing that you want to reclassify to a trail are roads that you don't want to give away the public access to it. And you don't want to
No reason
maintain,
to ever.
but, correct.
You
use
can,
it as
and
well.
it's
Correct.
actually written, if I remember the language correctly, it's written pretty rigidly. If you do this, you cannot go back. Like they've thought about you.
You can go.
Cannot.
I've never read that, but
So-
I've
so
not
that's-
looked.
That's
for
another
that
legal
specific.
question. Could you add that
Yep,
to your list,
I can.
please? Okay, so that was my input on section 3. I don't know if anybody else has anything before Lee takes us to section 4, which is longer.
Anybody have anything else on section 3? All right, section 4, maintenance and right-of-way access of class 4 highways. So this has quite a bit of discussion And again, is asking for a permit from the Director of Public Works in conjunction with the town manager. And this permission is given in accordance with 19 VSA 1111. And it should be in conformance with current town highway specifications, et cetera. Tim?
So yeah, just in that first section is where I would want to insert some language about existing sections being used as driveways, being exempt from that. Or differentiated, maybe not completely exempt, but I wouldn't want to make somebody jump through the hoop of getting a permit to repair their driveway.
So if I may,
Mhm.
we're looking for language for a carve out
Mhm.
that covers a class 4 road, section of class 4 road used exclusively or terminating at a home. So I'm not confident that we're gonna be able to come up with the appropriate language here at this
No, I don't
table.
think we will either.
But to add to the list, I think what you're requesting is language for a carve out.
A section of a class 4 road may be used as a driveway, then the road extends beyond, so it wouldn't have to just dead end at a house.
Right, and I'm guessing VLCT has been asked this question before, I hope.
So I wonder if that would be something we could include in the definition section that would apply to everything. We wouldn't have to state it in each section, but call it out at that point.
Yeah, add something to the definitions that covers driveway. And I'm putting that
So-
in quotes.
And the next question is, how extensively used does that driveway have to be? You know, is it something that's daily use, monthly use, biannual, every 10 years?
Full-time resident.
Yeah,
Well,
and again, that's, I
think
don't-
about the monitoring of that.
yeah, I don't
Right, no way
think,
to monitor that.
I don't think we can
I
discriminate, so to speak, based
would
on,
imagine it has to do with geography, not personal practice, but if it's a segment of a class 4 road that terminates at somebody's home, doesn't go past, like if it goes past and there's a turn off the driveway, like this goes back to the same thing we've all been saying tonight, which is every single class 4 road that comes up for conversation is gonna have its own unique set of circumstances.
Well, like the Adams farm.
Yeah.
The class 4 road goes through their dooryard. That's their driveway.
Right.
It continues on past that.
Right,
as
so
well.
then the question is within this definition, which somebody other than us is gonna come up with, it is what is gonna define, so you're right, it needs to go in definitions, class 4 road as driveway means.
That's a one to distinguish. So hard because they're all so different. You're gonna need a separate definition for each road almost. I know of some class 4 driveways that are 6-7 tenths of a mile long.
What are you
So
trying
then
to
the question
accomplish?
is-
What problem are you trying to solve with the driveway thing?
I'm just trying to make sure that folks who use the class 4 road and have historically used class 4 road as their regular driveway don't have to jump through the hoops of getting a permit from the town
For maintenance.
for maintenance.
So why
of
don't,
the
instead of bringing it to the driveway conversation, bring it to what is maintenance
Maintenance versus
versus alteration? Bring it back to that. And then it will apply universally.
Mhm.
so in that instance, under section 4, any person who wishes to perform or arrange for the repair, maintenance, improvement, restoration, or installation, we would change that language
Right,
to
I would take out
I think
maintenance,
we'd break it out.
eliminate maintenance.
and I would add a section that deals with maintenance. Sections of class 4 roads that are used for driveway, landowners are maintaining, and you need to have a definition of maintenance. Don't need permits. Because maintenance, they're gonna be dealing with things like maybe they're gonna grade that section of road, maybe they're gonna fill in potholes, maybe now if we're wide.
Plowing is maintenance, right?
Plowing, correct. So, I mean, if you're widening the road, that's one thing. If you're taking a bunch of trees down, that's altering. So maybe just bring it back to the definitions, of maintenance and altering. And then that can apply. And then you can add language about that. You want me to take a stab at that?
But yes, please. So that would basically take care of 4A, 4B. I don't know if 4BI,
when I see something like that, I don't get the requirement of somebody posting a bond to do work on their own, on the class 4 road that happens to be part of their driveway.
well,
Like,
yeah, but see, that's the difference, is if it's not maintenance. If it's not a maintenance issue for somebody's driveway, but somebody wants to go in for logging or something else. And they cause more damage,
oh,
you know,
yeah.
who's gonna pay for
I see what
that?
you're saying, Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Rob O'Halloran last time we met, he was talking about, they put $50,000 into a road and then it got ruined. Who pays for that? Yeah, and this is a way of maybe helping to ensure that the work is done correctly. I don't know. Again, this again goes back to the difference between driveways and maintenance and alterations or whatever. And I think having that definition would shed some light on that particular aspect. You know, 4B, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it seems like there would be a good reason to have that in there. There are situations
There
where it
could
would
be,
make
yeah,
sense.
there could be. And then part C. Again, that's for alterations, not just maintenance of somebody's driveway. And again, that would be requirement that makes sense, so that it's being done correctly and we're not going to be held liable for the any legal damages.
Also, this raises the question of who. I can see a situation where logging, the logging company was actually gonna do the upgrade to the road. But there's also a forester involved and the private landowner. So who applies for the permit and who's responsible for that? Is it the person actually doing the work? Which I would think it would be.
Yeah, if they're, well, it depends. You know, if you think of an electrician or a plumber, you have to get a permit or whatever to do work in a building. As a resident in my house, I can do my own plumbing and electrical. And if the house burns down, it's my fault. You know, nobody's license is on it. But in this instance, if it's on town property,
Town road.
we would, that would kind of fall into the commercial end of things, where the commercial building, you have to have a licensed electrician or plumber do all the work. So how does this stand up to that? I guess you would want the person who's actually doing the work, even if they're not the owner of the property, probably to pull the permit, so to speak. I don't know, does that make sense?
That's what I was thinking. And then, you know, potential liabilities are messing up the drainage, that would be a biggie.
Right.
So the person that's doing the work.
Whoever's actually doing the work.
Yeah,
I
like,
mean, they should be responsible for their workmanship for sure.
well, if I'm trenching or digging holes, I have to call DigSafe. I do, even though it's not my property. I'm doing the work, so I'm the one that's responsible for doing, you know, making sure I have clearance and permits, blah, blah. That make sense?
I don't know that you want to put language in here that says the person doing the work has to post a surety bond. You're just requiring that a surety bond is posted. I would leave it that way.
Well, I was thinking the permit, in whose name is the permit? The person doing the work or the logger that's hired?
I think that could be
Is that
different depending on the situation.
Yeah.
There could be
Are we
any
getting
number of
too
things.
far
We
into
don't
the
need
weeds?
I don't know, a permit needs to be pulled,
Mhm.
and.
Whoever's
surety
name is
bond-
on that permit is responsible
Correct.
for the result.
Correct.
Right.
But who's pulling the permit could change depending on,
Okay. That makes sense.
you know,
That's between them and whoever did the work if there's an issue. Yes.
Anything else on that section? Section 4. Okay, now we get the 5 control. So this is where this says we can exercise control of class 4 highways to ensure their integrity as public rights of way, including establishment of vehicle limits, prohibition of restriction of use by motorized vehicles, imposition of requirements for temporary permit for heavy equipment access, establishing the speed limits, and granting permission to pump the town highway. So that would be the control aspect of it. And one of the questions that we're gonna get answered is whether or not we can actually prohibit or restrict use by motorized vehicles.
I'm assuming we can, since the VLCT put it in their model policy, but yes, I will confirm. We'll just make sure you know.
Any of those other aspects cause any heartburn?
Take the opportunity to say that anybody who's concerned about access to a class 4 road through their property or that runs through their property, penting might be the best avenue to manage that, which would be a decision made by the select board.
That is the state statute.
Right,
That one is.
Right,
was
that
clear
exists and
From a
that,
long time ago, I think, from having animals and stuff, having
Yeah.
people be able to put up.
Question on that, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Sursu.
I noticed you don't have a microphone. Can I sit here and?
Yes,
Yeah.
you may.
Okay, so it's Derek Surso, just so you know, Pent Roads, this is a question. I thought the gate or whatever is used has to be unlocked.
that's correct.
So a Pent Road in it of itself does not stop a vehicle.
It's gonna turn most people around though,
It
right?
would certainly help.
I would hope.
How about the wires that are up now?
What?
Okay, so anything else under control? So I think, we can go into the change in classification. We kind of had that review of the process for that. Do we need to change anything in this particular section related to that?
I think most of this seems like it's definitely, based on state statutes.
Right,
So I don't think
exactly.
there really is anything that could change on this one.
Yeah, the only, part C is the only one that doesn't reference a statute. Same thing with 7 highway closures, that's all by state statute. Anything else on this particular policy?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So Derek Sarso again. I'm doing this from memory, so God only knows how accurate that is right now. The second paragraph of the policy, after the first intro, talked about greenways and things like that. It was fairly aspirational in scope, and it seemed very pro use of the roads, if I remember right. And if you remember in September, I spoke about this. Now having seen the struggles and the thoughts and all the considerations that the board is having to make, I think that paragraph 2 should be changed to reflect the reality of all the feedback you're receiving, the considerations that should be made, and so on and so forth, so that you can leave a track of whatever you're doing to get to your final product. I don't need aspirational, but it would be nice to have a history of what it took to get there and to capture the comments, the vast amount of comments that were made by the public as well.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly?
Yes, Frank Kelly. I am a member of the Chester Conservation Committee, and I've lived in Chester longer than I've lived anywhere else. So a lot of what I have to share is kind of a summary of what folks have shared already. I've had the pleasure of being able to travel on many of these class 4 roads, either on foot or on a mountain bike, and it's a great joy. Also, as a green update person, I know where they all are. Fortunately or unfortunately. So numerous stories have been shared about the class 4 roads, and it's really admirable that the select board is taking that on. It is clear to me that the community members that are here want something to be done to protect the rights of the community who have deeded access to the class 4 roads and the rights of the landowners who use it or abut the class 4 roads. The policy sets guidelines for how the town of Chester maintains, controls, and changes class 4 roads. And you're doing your due diligence going through it word by word. As we heard at the last meeting, one size will not fit all, yet the policy still needs to apply to all. That is the challenge that you're facing and taking on. So the policy that was written to be vague yet specific enough to address all of these concerns. In other words, there are a whole lot of mays or coulds or other words in there intentionally. Without a policy, though, it's important to note, which is the case today, that someone could access one of those class 4 roads that is a driveway or a through road or has been maintained by someone else. I mean, how many of us have ever driven down the road to see where it goes? We all have. And again, there's times when we should turn around, you know, and so without a policy, anything goes. So I urge folks to try and get this done. Once that policy is in place, then an inventory can be conducted to learn what the condition is of those 17 plus or minus miles of class 4 roads. Once an inventory is in place, then the select board or interested parties could request any number of different things to be done to the class 4 road. Could be left as it is. Could be modified to prevent access by certain types of vehicles. Signage could be put up. You know what all those things, you get the idea. The class 4 road policy simply provides a framework on which decisions could be made with the best interest of all. So again, as a resident, as a user of class 4 roads, I'm really glad that the select board is taking a close look at the class 4 road policy.
Thank you. Right. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
David Tyler again. Having set a lot of policies, a lot of times it is saying what you're going to do and then having to do it. And as I voiced my opinion, I am personally not happy with some of the language in this policy. I do appreciate the challenge to please all. I'm also of the opinion that just because statute exists doesn't mean it's right or well thought out. So I do want to just caution what gets put in this policy because it will be leveraged by government as a tool. And there was a lot of different opinions, and it isn't a one size fits all. It does seem both the statute and the policy seems very favorable towards ecotourism. I'm not convinced that was the original purpose of the legislated class 4 roads. I definitely think it is something that towns and whatnot are leveraging for for the population. But as it stands for us, we don't abut a class 4 road. In particular, it goes right through property, right next to something that's governed by the federal government, an open mine. The policy seems to be very favorable to the town and its citizens as far as rights and benefits, and very lenient and forgiving regarding obligations and risk. So I think there's, I would take the polar opposite opinion of the other citizen, which is what you say in this policy will matter. It does actually change things and it builds precedent. And I would try to make sure that it solves the problems and doesn't create more for the town. It already seems very litigious and controversial. And then just things are going to change. Right now, our state, I don't know if you all have seen that the wildlife hunting and fishing are actually considering they have no funding. They're losing funding. They don't have enough money to pay people. And now they're considering licensing for using public land to kayak or hike. And they're gonna charge, they're looking at creating a license to use that land, just as I pay for my hunting and fishing license. If I want to go kayak on state property now, I might have to buy an additional license, which I'm happy to do. However, if we start creating trails through private property, with no obligation to the town and only to the person who actually owns the land on both sides, I would just be concerned that we don't know what the future holds. And if people don't want to pay for a license to go on state property, now maybe they want to go across the class 4 trails in the town of Chester and other towns. So just be cognizant of some of the choices you're making.
Thank you. So I had a question for you. Is the statement you just made reflective of the concerns that you have with the policy as it exists now, or are there other issues that you'd like us to consider? Because what I'm asking for is not necessarily verbal, but if you could send something in writing to Julie, that would be perfect, because that will enable us to see and consider exactly what your concerns are.
Sure. And I'm just curious about the process. Do you folks discuss this separately ever, or do you have all of your discussions here? Because I feel like we're just.
We have to have conversations in the public, so
Ah.
we do not discuss this.
I was just
Yeah.
because it was very obvious and I feel, yeah.
That's a good thing. We're being as
Yeah.
transparent as
Yeah.
possible.
But sometimes
work
it's
through it.
funky.
Yeah.
It's funky when.
Yeah, no,
sometimes when-
it's great because I'm listening and I'm wanting to say something, or I have thoughts and, and hearing you all with your different opinions. It's, yes, the wheels of government.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this issue?
One thing I'd like to say, Lee.
Your name, please,
Doug
sir?
Adams,
Thank you.
well, you know my name.
I do, yes.
Is, there aren't too many farms left. I'm one of the few. And there's a heck of a lot of difference if you own the property and people are transporting on it, and like they mentioned, cars coming in. I've had cars come in and go right across a new seeded piece and ruin a good track on a new seeded piece. And I mean, as the owner of the property, I'm ready to go out there and have a good fist fight with somebody.
I haven't told them that we've actually had more traffic recently because of these discussions.
And that was one of my concerns, because that's been brought up by a couple of people. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I wish there was more farmers still left around that could come in and put their opinion out here, but,
Well, yeah, and not all the farmers have a class 4 that happens to go directly through the entire parcel.
Well, we certainly appreciate your concerns and your comments, and we will continue to consider this. As has been stated before, the wheels of government grind slowly, and so we will be discussing this for a while. Anything else at this point? All right, I'd like to call a 5-minute recess while we retrieve Peter and anyone who, anyone who needs to step out for a minute.
Oh, please, thank
Yeah.
you.
Do you want one to?
Yes, I do.
You're looking at me. Do you want that?
Sure.
I'm going back there.
Oh, no, I mean,
I did it off the top of my head, but I want that paragraph too. Three ways. I'm right there with you.
I know exactly what you're thinking.
Well, when you said at the other meeting, I said.
I compared the statute, what was on the state as a template. And what was the policy, and Which is good. And then I looked up where it came from, and it came from a very left view.
There you go.
Yeah.
It came from a.
And there was another phrase like that. That said that
No matter what.
I still remember finding her.
we got that out.
White arrows. Oh, yeah, yeah.
That second one.
And I'm all for true conservation. There's a lot of.
You said it.
I'm really into conservation.
I only need a picture.
Other things.
Thank you.
Yeah, next, I'm glad all these people showed up. I thought I was all.
Oh, yeah, they're all good. Yeah.
Okay.
It says motorized.
Statute calls out snow.
Yeah. There you go. All right, good to see you. Yeah, I will. Yeah, good to see you.
It comes from.
Thank you. Paperwork.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Brother.
Yes.
You going to the major leagues?
I'm not.
From last time.
Because he's not here.
Yeah.
Just started
out with that.
I see all, yeah, I'm right with you.
Thank you so much.
Road doing it.
Yeah, I can watch the video. I watched for all 3 hours.
They say something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is my questions copy, but I can do it. This is the document that I put together for the board of all the statutes and the process of discontinuing
So
their.
you know, when I was going through 6 different files of class 4.
There was a list made up by, I'm not sure, but it was
So that's not.
class 3 roads.
So I'm curious.
Highways.
Oh, really? Wow.
Hold on. You can
So
ask
in
that
other words, the
question.
town maintains, plows and does everything
Anytime
for
you
you.
want.
And
You can walk
basically,
in
it
there
just
and
goes
ask
up
me
and
about
down.
what's
Julie
happening.
is, and doesn't go anywhere else, just turns
And
around and
she'll
goes.
either point you to the resource, that's
Yeah.
the answer, or she'll answer herself, or she'll look at it and go, oh, good question.
Which is a
And then we'll
whole
go from there,
nother
anytime.
All right, I'd like
And the
to,
answer's nothing.
call the meeting back to order if I could. And, the next thing on the agenda is the snowmobile club. And so, landowner permission form from the Chester Snowmobile Club. Is anybody here who'd like to address the?
My name is Wayne Cooley.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, we have a landowner permission form from the board to sign for access to the trail system.
And so the, roads where the snowmobile club is asking for permission is Smokeshare Road past the Fourth Bridge, 150 yards to the snowmobile bridge on the left. Blue Hill Road, 150 yards from Kentinger's Field over the bridge to Bales Field. 100 feet of Ethan Allen Road, Olive Williams Road, Rolling Acres from cul-de-sac at far end, 600 yards where the trail turns right. And the town turnaround across from Old Forge Road, 50 to 70 feet. We need a motion for this, we
You
do.
need a motion authorizing you to.
I have one question.
Yes,
Has this inventory changed in any way from last year?
No, it has not.
There you go.
I'm saying Mark Drive, is Mark Drive on?
Mark's Drive is not on here.
Talks about Rolling Acres from the cul-de-sac.
Oh, that's where.
That's the same,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these are the same requests
Yep.
from last season. Thank you.
So historic names.
So I will entertain a motion to allow permission to the Chester Snowmobile Club to use the roads referenced.
So moved.
So Tim is a motion, Ariana's a second. Any further discussion? So am I just signing it? So we just need a motion to allow me to sign it.
Correct.
Okay, so the motion should be to allow the chair to sign the form.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
That's quick.
You get your copy.
Got mine.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, I think I'm coming.
Stand for budget.
Thank you for your time.
Good night, Derek.
Night now, thank you.
All right, next is.
Hardcore.
Wait,
Surprised those two didn't stay for the budget.
Wow. I think it's a hardcore. That's not bad.
No, not you.
yeah, something else.
Next on the agenda is a 2025 budget discussion specifically related to recreation and facilities departments.
Tearing up our
Front Road
building.
Center.
So how are we gonna proceed?
We're the same way we did last time.
Okay. I wasn't here for that.
You right? Yes, you are.
Okay.
Arnie's looking at me. So this budget's before you tonight are the rec and facilities. So the recreation budget overall, the recreation department budget has increased about 5,500, primarily payroll benefits, nothing in the rec budget directly, of significant increase. The facilities budget has a few changes. Overall facilities budget is increased, potentially 59,000, depending on what the board wants to do. And the changes I'll highlight real quick. So library town hall are seeing decreases. You're gonna see repairs and maintenance on those two lines have dropped. That's because a lot of the work being done in those two buildings in 2026 are funded through the MERP grant. And there is stuff to be done, but Stephen, thinking about what we have to actually manage, there's not going to be time or capacity to manage the MERP grant and other improvements. So we're just going to take a step back, complete the MERP grant, get all of those upgrades done first. I have heard from the library. I heard from the library today. They will be at your December 3rd meeting, but they are going to be presenting a flat budget. So they are not asking for an increase this year. So that can stay the same. And they will be here on the 3rd to discuss.
Really like the pothole filled in the parking lot.
Oh, great.
You know, think about this. I have to deal with this all the time, and I brought you back with a flat budget here for marital bliss. You need to fill the pothole.
Sounds like a conflict.
The historic facility maintenance line. This year we have 10,000 in there, at the Yosemite Firehouse, the interior door, there's a sliding door, and then that interior door, there's work to be done on that. So we're including 10,000 as a rough estimate we have as of right now.
Sorry, where are you?
Yeah.
I'm in the historic facility maintenance,
Historic facility maintenance.
revitalization budget.
25,000, not
Yeah.
10,000?
So I'm breaking it down
Oh, great.
as to what it's gonna include.
I'm just trying to get ahead of you.
That's okay.
I should learn.
That's okay.
So I'm looking at the manager's memo that has a summary of this. So
I'm just repeating for the
Smart
public.
guy.
I'm just repeating for the public. And the other thing that we're including, we're leaving that budget line flat. It was 25,000 last year. We're leaving it 25,000 this year. Steve is working on some quotes. He can talk more about this, but working on some quotes to finally perhaps start painting Yosemite. There's a lot more to painting that has to be done with that building. There's a lot of clapboards, and when I'm done, we'll let Steve go into more discussion about that. Obviously, it's gonna be more than $15,000. We are working on some quotes, but I'm just leaving that 15 in there. Maybe there's something that we can start. So it's just a placeholder for the moment. The Chester events line, also under the revitalization budget, that's increased. I added money for the volunteer recognition picnic that we want to do every year. And I've added a little bit of money for National Night Out, which is another event that we do every year that is widely popular and very successful. Pool improvements does include some work to the changing rooms, painting, And it also includes adding, some picnic tables and more umbrellas to the pool deck to provide more shading, more shade and seating, on the pool deck. We know our pool is very popular, widely used. The other improvement that Matt is hoping to make this year is, in the facility repair line, is adding in all of the parking places, split rail fencing, removing those rotten old posts that are there in the ground, and removing those and putting in some decent split rail fence. That would be in all of the parking areas. So by the pickleball court, by, the pool house, and then over by the baseball field. It would make the facility look much nicer, it'd be a nice added piece, and those posts are rotten. They need to come out.
They were old poles.
They were old
They were
telephone
cut
poles
and, yeah,
years ago.
used poles.
Yep, exactly.
I
So-
have some used poles if you want to
We
just
don't
go
want
back
to do
to.
that. We want it to look nice, pretty. The other big addition, the big piece to the facilities budget is, we've added Wayne. We've added that part-time position, to this budget. So that is included in here. Wayne will be using his own vehicle. We don't have two vehicles, so Wayne will be using his own vehicle, which he's fine to do. It is his van that has all of his electrical tools and stuff in it. We'll just pay him mileage, which he agrees to do. And then the other big piece that we did put in here as a placeholder is we put in 40,000. Matt's gotten some prices back. We think it's a good number to replace the shed / Matt's office, which is over by the baseball field. So this is where we had talked at one point about doing a garage. It was going to be very expensive. Matt's done a significant amount of research and found a very nice like a shed from that facility up in White River Junction. But did you bring pictures with you tonight? And with the concrete slab and stone that we need to do at the foundation, and the building itself will come in right about 40,000. So it's little money to fix a long-term problem, and the feeling is we can do our own insulation inside. And, we can do all that in-house. We don't, that's easy. But this gets us the framework and gets us what we need, and it's very, very attractive. It would fit in very nice. So instead of a, several $100,000 building, we feel this.
No indoor soccer in this building.
This building will not have all that.
Football, maybe.
I would love, that building will only come if we can get a very large branch. So you guys want to elaborate?
So we'll talk about the Yosemite.
Your name, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve Birthday Facilities Director
Thank you.
for the town of Chester. So the Yosemite Engine Company building, the clapboards themselves are not your standard clapboards. The standard clapboards nowadays are 3/8 at the bottom, 5.5 inches wide, and probably eighth inch at the top. That's the standard clapboards now. The clapboards on that building there are 1/4 inch at the bottom and nothing at the top, and it's 4.5 inches wide.
Nothing.
It is, they taper to nothing. So when we did, one of the companies I work for, we did some of the renovations on the end by the sliders. The clapboards are so brittle that when you try to peel them out to slide a new one underneath it, it just cracks. So it's like, you just keep going and going and going. So, with the painting of that building, we were trying to get some contractors to give us some prices on square footage for clapboard replacement. We'd have to have some, if they want to stick with the original clapboard style that's there, we're gonna have to have some made probably at Vermont Hardwood Flooring. Vermont Hardwoods there. They could set up some knives and mill some of that, but I think once we touch it, we're gonna be replacing a lot more clapboard on that building than we think, because we ended up probably going another 2 feet from where we wanted to stop with the original clapboard. When we redid the door, we ended up just going up and trying to be as ginger as possible. So that's gonna be an interesting project.
What's the material was it made of?
I believe no, I don't think it's here. I think it's pine. And it's so old and weathered, it's just wafer thin. So that's gonna be an interesting project.
Thick paint won't hold it all together?
Well,
Lead
it's
paint.
not so much the paint, it's you can actually see right where the clapboards lap each other. You can, it's all cracked because I've never seen clapboard that thin, you know, and it's only 4.5 inches wide versus 5.5 inches
Is there
wide.
lead paint on that building?
I can't answer that. I do not know.
We have not tested it.
We've never tested it.
It was painted, what, 20 years?
Probably.
5 years
Yeah.
ago?
I'm not sure that it is lead paint. I mean, that paint's not original to the
I think
building.
Jim Rabb would
It
watch
was-
that.
Well, I don't think it was painted during the time of lead paint.
Right.
Whatever was painted, I think it was.
Yeah,
Before that.
yeah.
recent.
Or before that? Or it was never painted before?
No, I think it was
Oh,
painted
no, it
before,
was,
but I think,
I remember them doing the whole
Since it was
deal.
re-sided. It was after lead paint.
So is the plan to replace the clapboards with the 4.5 inch? So it'd be the same height, or would we go to the 5?
you have to go with what's there.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to replicate what's there, even the thin part at the top.
Hopefully they'll give us a little bit of leniency on that, just for
One of the appearances.
the appearance and, you know, because if we put, I mean, how old's the building now? I mean, that stuff lasted quite a while, so I guess we could put the same clapboard on it, get the same life out of it. So,
Yeah, I just was curious whether it had to be the exact replica. Maybe slightly improved.
It has to, when I asked the question, I forget the measurements, but it was basically what is there.
So we can't make them thicker and still maintain the 4.5.
We'll work on that.
yeah, we can, because when
They're
the,
very finicky. It's got a
Oh, I'm
presentation
sure,
on
yeah.
it, and it's,
because when they cut the knives, they can grind the knives to whatever thicknesses we want.
Right.
So I'd like to push to have a thicker top edge, which where it overlaps, so it'll end up being thicker than what it is now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
How are the walls underneath?
they seem fine. You know, when we did work on that one gable end, it was all, I mean, the building itself is structurally sound, because there was some issues where people thought that the building was leaning. That building's been leaning for years, because when they cut the door in, they actually plumbed when they did the door jam, they plumbed it straight. But you have to cut the door itself, so that thing's been leaning forever. So it's not going anywhere, you know, with what they have right now, so.
so there's more coming on that. You know, and it's painting, you can't get grant funds to paint. I mean, that's just maintenance. But we might be able to get some assistance with clapboard replacement. So we'll be looking into that, but
Even if we did, you know, maybe 1 to 2 sides a year,
Anytime.
even 1 side a year.
that
'cause
was my thought.
the biggest thing is we don't know how much clapboard's gonna need to be replaced until you physically get up there and, you know, pull a piece, up, there goes another piece, and it's like Pandora's box once you start cracking one, it's.
So you're gonna give Vermont Hardwoods an order for 10 to a billion square feet?
Well, what I'd like to do is just calculate all the siding for the whole building and get a price and add probably 10%, 10-15% for waste. And then just get a price on the whole thing and then get a contractor to get a price on, I was trying to get one to give us a price per square foot for taking it off and replacing, but they were kind of like, they weren't really too keen on that, so. But that's what the avenue that I'd like to go is get a price on all the material for the whole job and then do it, whether it's per square foot and or just get a price on the whole, whether it's a gable end or the A side or B side, whatever, so. So that's in the works. And then talking about Matt's shed or garage, whatever it's gonna be, if we did do something like that, remember the properties that FEMA bought out, and we ended up pulling out a small boiler, the oil tank and all the electrical solar panels. I'd like to incorporate those items onto the garage if feasible for power for that building, and if there's any electricity that isn't being used, to put it back into the grid, I guess, to get a little bit of money recouped, because he doesn't really have much stuff, you know, as far as electrical devices going on in there. So
Where would it sit in that new building?
right where it is now.
The replacement.
We're gonna
space.
have a town
okay.
takedown, and then I have pictures and sizes and everything else, but I mean, if you wanna go that deep in everything.
Everything that's there is gonna go away.
Yeah, so the little shed and the shed that's there, I call it the office, that would go. We put up another shed that'd be 14 by 24 with a loft. We'd actually raise the concrete up a little bit, the slab, right now it's a 6-inch slab.
Show them the picture
Oh,
we're looking at.
if
Maybe
you
different,
wanna-
maybe different colors.
Yeah, this is just from up in Upper Valley,
And what I'd like to do where all the electrical work that we did, that, we'll call that the B side. I wanna take that wall out, leave all the electrical conduits and everything right there, and put the building right up against that. So we don't have to do any electrical, redo any of the electrical, it's all been redone already. And then by elevating the slab itself, another 6 inches, that'll get us out of, if the brook ever runs over, it won't flood
Which it
into the
does every
building.
year.
when I got the quotes for the concrete, I did explain to him that like the conduits come from the ground. We're not gonna like, cause there's this thing you could center over and go like 2 feet each side, whatever. We couldn't do that because of the conduits coming up. We're gonna keep all that there. We're just probably gonna go back 6 to 8 feet the other way towards the parking lot, towards the riverside. That makes sense?
Yep.
I mean, if you know the building, you kind of know what I'm talking about.
So what would the electric requirement be for that building? If you're using, is it propane or oil for heat?
It's an oil-fired furnace.
Yeah, I mean, obviously him and I would talk a little bit once we get going. It's 14 by 24 with a loft. I don't know, like if you go to a couple of Moji or something like that, but we'd obviously talk and kind of get what we needed for that square footage. And I'd keep it at 60, you know what I mean? Or honestly, 55. It's more storage, paint, stuff like that for the pool paint, that can't freeze.
The only thought I have, if you do decide to put solar on it, is GMP is no longer allowing group net metering unless you already have a group set up. So you may want to consider how much power that system will make and then using it. Put in a heat pump or something and that would use it up.
And I don't know, I mean, now thinking about it, I don't know if you'd want the solar panels wherever down at the park. I don't know if it really fits in.
How much,
Obviously,
how much roof space?
I don't know exactly. You can probably kind of tell from the
24
pictures. I don't know what the pitch is, to be honest. You could probably look.
12, so yeah, you could probably.
Half
fit
of the
this.
12 with.
A little more than half, yeah.
Yeah, but
12 pitch, it looks like.
it's 12 pitch. So anyway, it might be worth thinking about. In my opinion, I think it's a good use of that space and it shows the community that
Yeah.
we care about saving money and doing the right thing. If you,
It's up on the roof, so to be honest, it won't be like.
Well, it's a good point. That boiler that you have that came out of the house, it's gonna be way overkill for that.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
You got
That's
an
gonna be way
oil
too
tank, you got a boiler, you
That's our
got a
house.
chimney.
I have a,
Whereas if you have a heat pump, because of the electricity, you might be better off with just
Yeah.
something like
A
that.
small heat pump. Yeah.
Because
yeah, I talked to her today a little bit about, we had different, when I came to talk to her this morning, we had those options of
Yeah.
something.
as long as it doesn't get to 30 below zero. You're,
you can put one little propane thing on the
Right.
wall, just as
Is
a
that for
backup
that
in
night?
case, just
Yeah.
for the, when it can't keep up, and that
or
rarely
electric
happens.
resistance heater, something.
True, yeah.
Anyway, we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah,
so-
yeah. So that's the bigger, I know we talked and we had our little thing at the Stone Hearth, but that was kind of we came back scaled back a little bit, but I think now I'm actually, after looking at it and doing, I'm actually very happy with something like that.
Yeah.
I think it looked really good down there and this, like she talked about earlier, the split rail fence. I think it kind of, besides the pool house and maybe a rec center someday, I think it kind of, the park is like kind of complete, if that makes sense. You get rid of the ugliness and you put in the new stuff. And honestly, now if you look at it as a whole, there's nothing down there you look at and you're like, that's ugly. Besides the pool house, but I don't think that's ugly. I just think
Until you get
it's
inside.
Until you get inside.
It has character.
It
It
does,
does
it
have
has,
character.
definitely has character. But anyway, those are the two biggest things that I would like to see, just to aesthetically see the park kind of like the direction I want to see it go,
Are
obviously.
you envisioning, like, when you say a split rail fence, you don't mean rails laid on the ground?
No, split,
With
like,
pockets?
it's like, it looks like rough cut lumber and like 2 posts in the middle. It's two, you can do 2 or 3 and I did 2.
None of that's gonna mess with plowing or anything, is it?
Oh, no, not really, because one, we can move them back a little bit, so.
And I mean, there's already
We have,
Yeah.
The poles. are
yeah, we have
here,
things
so
that
They
we're
didn't
not-
care about those poles. Yeah, they run into those.
They didn't.
and where we're putting them, just to kind of, I do have a picture somewhere, but you know where the telephone poles are on the ground by the rink, they'd be there. Where we have the posts on the grass at the pool house, in front of the pool house, in front of the tennis courts, they'd be there. In front of the snack shack and behind the tennis courts where they don't really plow towards anyway. So it's kind of, the only place that would come into question is the ice rink area. But there's plenty of spaces you can kind of push through other ways.
You could also make those rails so you could take.
You can take them out.
sections
Yeah,
out.
you can, I mean,
You have to build it that way, but.
I mean, when I taught, Springfield Fencing gave me the quote, they're gonna be pretty solid. I mean, like, sometimes you put them in, you can like move, shake them and kind of take them out. These, they're gonna be 6 or 8 inches on each side in, so it's gonna be, it'll be pretty tough, but I mean, you probably could really.
How's your Cisco trailer looking?
Oh, it looks beautiful.
Okay.
It's beautiful this time of year with the.
No pain, huh?
No coverage and no leaves and hiding it and.
Right.
How about a nice camo paint job?
I would like to do that. We can add it on to the.
Snow camo.
Yeah.
Get a local artist to
Yeah.
paint a big mural on the side of it.
Alrighty then, moving right along.
Very well.
So those are the highlights, that's for these two departments. So not bad. With the shed being in, and adding the new half position, that budget, is up about 60,000. It'll be the budget that has our highest increase. But again, as I'm assembling all departments, I want to see where we land and, yeah.
Is the Andover contribution, that 4,500, is that a set amount, one-time deal that they pay to the town?
They pay to the town that amount every year. Yeah.
And is there a formula to increase that as our budgets go up and things cost more? I mean, we've had this discussion with.
I was talking here.
Andover.
With the
Andover
rec,
fund.
the money, the rec,
Yeah.
we actually did raise it. I don't know what year,
It's like
it was 3,800,
3,800.
and now it's, I think, 45.
45 or 46.
So we did raise it not long ago.
Yeah.
Um,
And the other thing that is a little bit of a challenge is,
Usage?
yeah, anybody can come use our facility.
No,
So
I
we want
understand.
to get out of that.
But things do go up.
They do, correct.
The fact that we did raise it.
Yeah, we did go from 38 to 46.
yeah, and that was, to be honest, that wasn't that long ago, I don't think.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add? Well, thank you. Appreciate your time and your expertise and all you do for the town. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, guys.
That's
You can stay if you want. Donuts will be here in about 20 minutes.
No donuts, no.
it. Good night, everybody. You know, I'm very.
Thanks, Dave.
Here, Steve. Have a good place.
See ya.
See you guys. Take care.
Next is the 4 to 3 financials review.
There really is nothing of special mention. If you guys had questions, I can certainly do what I can to answer them.
I struggled getting through it all.
It's a lot. And the thing about Q3 is as you're starting to review the budgets, each time you look at a budget section, you're getting the most up-to-date numbers. So as you're looking through the budget, you're kind of doing a financial review as well. But if there's anything that stands out that you have questions about,
Highway and sand, so, because that went way over, but is that the cost? That's the cost of processing all the sand that they took out? of the road?
correct.
So actually, that number
More
should
than
go
this year.
down.
Correct.
Right.
They're up there cranking now.
Yeah, they are. They're making gravel right now.
Quick pile.
That was a big pile.
The other question was, the federal audit.
The single audit.
Why do we have to have a federal audit?
So we have an outside audit every year.
Right. That's true, yeah.
When you have, what triggers a single audit, the federal audit
Yep.
are grant funds. So, if you expend more than $750,000 in federal funds,
Yep.
In a single year, you're required to have this extra layer of an audit. The, July 2023 storm.
Yep.
those funds are considered grant funds because they were federal dollars from FEMA. So we had to have a single audit last year. We will have to have one this coming year as well. And as we get into Depot Street, and that's a $2 million sidewalk project, those are federal funds. So sometimes we get stuck in that.
One of the things that jumped out at me, and this is just me not understanding this stuff, I think select board is 282% over. What is that even?
282% over 200.
Well, no, it's up in, that's up in the summary.
Yes. The
First-
first page.
When you go down the rest, if you go down the rest of the way into the details, it actually makes more sense.
It breaks it down.
Right.
Right, yeah. There were, I was tempted to tell it was 24 pages and a third of them were blank, print the thing out, and then it was like,
Oh, it's just, it wasn't the set, print area probably wasn't set. You had and I'm trying at this particular moment to remember what it was that we had done. We had a consulting.
right?
There was a select board expenses, it was like $4,000.
Was that just the guy who came to talk to us about we had our own attorney for an hour and a half?
No, that was not it.
Okay.
No, it was one of the different consultings that we had to have done. And I'm trying to remember what. I won't let you know what it is.
Okay.
But it was one of those things. It's one of those
not a big
contracted
number.
services.
It
No,
just caught my eye.
correct. But we didn't have a budget number there. It was something that, one of the things that came up during the year. I will find out exactly what it is and send it to you. I'm drawing a blank. Drawing a blank.
You don't remember it?
I don't.
We spent?
No.
Wow.
I'm remembering less and less.
Yeah, there.
RAM space fills up.
That's what I claim. It's like, it's not that I'm losing my memory, it's just
It's full.
it's too full.
Yeah.
and
That's right.
All the
My
important
story
stuff
has
is
to be
falling
full.
out. All right, anything else on the financials?
Julie's not worried. I don't think I am.
Next is liquor license, a one-time occasion permit for Fisher Art. So the question will be asked, is the chief of police okay with this?
No issues.
Thank you.
There were no issues last time. Yep.
Do we need a vote on this?
You need a motion. Yep.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the Art Gallery Mont Venus serving permit for, okay, Tim is,
One-time occasion, but I don't see a date. Is there a date? Does this have to have a date on it?
I don't think it does. I think it's one time for the
They can
year.
do it whenever they want to.
Yeah.
so Tim's made the motion. Do I have a second?
Sure, second.
Arnie's the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. Next is the new business next agenda. So according to the manager's memo.
It just changed. You want me to read what it is now?
Please.
So, budget wise, you'll hear admin zoning listers will be the budget and library will be here. You'll have the 2 interviews, at whatever level interview you want to do for the moderator position and potentially an appointment. You will have the businesses here. We've notified the businesses about the local options tax, so we've reached out to, I think we've caught them all. So that letter went out a couple weeks ago, not long after that, your first meeting. And so you'll have that on the agenda. The CEDC interviews are bumped to the 17th, trying to space things out. Yeah, that's your next agenda.
Okay.
Then December 17th will be the highway budget, water sewer budget.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to have the first draft of the public records request, but if things continue as they have been, I will not.
You're gonna mess with the class 4 policy again?
Where do you want that on?
And who's editing?
Who's editing what? Oh, the class 4 roads policy?
Class 4 road policy conversations, saying that the changes need to be, questions that need to be answered. Once those questions are answered, is this something that can happen in the background, or does it have to happen in meeting, in public?
Why don't you let me take a stab at trying to incorporate the things that you've talked about? I don't know that I will have this for your next meeting, however.
I don't think there are any definitions now, so we talked about adding definitions, which is gonna take some work.
It's gonna take some work, and then then you need to rework, we need to rework some of the language so that those definitions make sense. So, I will work on that, but I don't know that I'll have that by December 3rd. But I will work on that.
It would be interesting to get written comments. I think was Mr. Tyler.
Yeah, Taylor, yeah,
Taylor, hearing though or seeing those would be informative.
Yeah. absolutely.
I did have I don't know if this is appropriate for new business. It's not really new business, but I had a question. Somebody mentioned to me that the Fall Festival Committee is planning to move the Fall Festival to the Legion property. Is that?
So for full disclosure, I'm no longer part of the Fall Festival Committee.
Okay, good.
And not because of this, not because of this. It became apparent to me, and in talking to some of my other counterparts, all looked at me and said, surprised you didn't think of that. A town manager can't be a regular citizen and be on a committee that is not a town committee. I have learned that. It's not, people aren't doing it intentionally by any means, but they can't, there's no removing the hat. So yeah, in talking to counterparts, my counterpart in other towns, they were like, oh no, we are on no committees that are not town committees. So after this fall festival, they knew, so I'm not on that. So to answer your question, yes, there has been conversation about moving the festival. There's a lot of reasons behind that. My understanding, I'm not in agreement with it, and I have stated that to them. But I also understand some of their concerns. They are having a meeting on December 2nd, I believe, where just for conversation and to kind of fill the public in on what their plan is, and kind of their reasons behind why they're looking at making that change.
But I'm sure they have good reasons, but still, it's a downtown event.
My concern is that if it gets moved, it will,
It
you'll lose the event. It's just gonna be another fair in a field.
is December 2nd, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Where is
Where's
that?
the
Is
meeting
that
being
open to
held?
the public?
Yes, it's
They
a
want
meeting.
the public.
They want the public.
Where is it gonna be?
It'll be here,
Here.
but I need to talk to the ladies because it needs to be upstairs. They're gonna
Yeah.
get a very large crowd. I'm
Okay.
getting, and the thing that I have tried to explain to people, because I have had a lot of people stop me on the street and a lot of people calling me here at home, all over the place about this. This is not a town event.
Right.
As town manager and as select board, we can't dictate what happens with that. We can express concerns and opinions and impacts and those types of things, but I can't say to them, no, you can't move your festival.
No.
But there are many who think that I can. So
You're the lady that runs the town.
I tried to, yeah, the lady that runs the town. That was funny. Also makes her son's bed. That was just, anyway,
Okay, well, thank you for
Yeah.
answering that question.
absolutely.
I
December
get that.
2nd, I would encourage people to come out, ask questions.
And that's only in 2 weeks, if you can believe that.
I know.
You should be Christmas shopping by then.
I should be done with throwing stuff on roofs, but I'm not.
Oh.
I'm done with that too.
Alright, I'm done with everything.
Next is executive session, discussion, read the purchase and sale agreement for the purchase of solar field pursuant to 1 VSA 313(1)(f). So I'm assuming we have a motion to go into executive session. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing the purchase and sale agreement for the solar field pursuant to 1 VSA subsection 313(1)(f). Inviting in the town manager.
So we're gonna shut down
So
everything.
moved.
Second.
So Ariana has made the motion and Tim is the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we will be not making any decisions.
No,
as
no,
part of
there's no
this.
action on this. No.
So do we say goodnight?
Yeah.
And stay here?
We're gonna shut everything down. Yeah, we'll shut everything down.
Get the pretty red
Or is
light.
that